Right, greetings everybody. It is Newsday, and as you can see, the hopes and dreams of any more FF9 characters we can finally put to rest, because it ain't happening. I mean, it was pretty much confirmed at this point. But if anybody is just still out there really holding on hope, it's confirmed not. However, what is nice is that we finally get to knock off a character off of the list of been in the story for a while. I've been waiting for the actual announcement of this character. Well, here she is. The new version of more 100 costed, new element, new outfit, new weapon type. Couldn't ask for anything else new. And this will be our March 1st character. Now, also, before we get too far into this, I don't expect this to be the major surge. And it'll be interesting to see where this character ends up in terms of the meta, because as we've seen probably since New Year's, I think that overall collaboration characters have been the stronger ones, and Wotv characters have been a little bit on the maybe less powerful side. But that could change. That could really change very quickly, as we saw last year. So what do we got? What are we actually looking at here? Well, more is the next in a line of commander units. As you can see, wide range of jobs. We have a brand new spear-based job, which is quite interesting because it does actually look to be a tank-based job that can probably still do a hefty amount of damage. But we're also looking at like Axe Knight in here in the mix with, I do believe, that is Winter Preen's job already on a new character. So it hasn't been that long since that character came out, and now we are already seeing that ability. Either way, more does seem to be generally quite interesting. So let's take a look as I switch over screens to see what we ended up with. All right, so color balance, be damned, here Umbra goes. So starting off with our commander ability this time. The commander ability is a little bit weird in that it's for quest only, and I would be actually more concerned if it was not for quest only. Activated at the start of battle, reduces healing power, piercing attack resistance, and critical evasion rate of earth attribute enemies for 5 turns. Once again, you can imagine how probably bad this would be if this was a commander ability that was being used in PvP. It would basically probably really screw over a lot of Earth characters. I mean, if they really wanted to just kill up Riku, you could have essentially put this in PvP and, you know, Riku would have been dead. But it's a good thing that they have not. It is effectively only for quest-based content. And I mean, it is going to be pretty limited for now, but at some point in the future, this is probably going to be one of those necessary things that you need to complete something way easier. Either way, I'm sure it's fine for now. It's fine. It's fine. Umbra says he's not really that bothered by it, but only because of its typing. Talking about Limit Burst, reduces a certain percentage of AoE attack resistance for targets within range for 3 turns. Followed by extra large damage with the probability of death sentence. So the target will be incapacitated after 4 turns. Grants a spike effect also that reduces magical damage for 2 turns that reflects part of the damage back at the attacker. So we get a lot of information that fills in exactly what more is supposed to be. She's a spear unit that enables AoE attackers by reducing the amount of AoE resistance, and potentially also really screwing over teams that are, hey, I'm going to outlast you. Because death sentence is not something that's particularly that resisted against, which is kind of interesting. If you think about a character that is just lasts longer, one of the best things they can do if they're just going to outlast you is cast a status effect that you can't really do anything about. So yeah, there is definitely protection against death sentence if it ever becomes too bad, but this could make more really, really good. Also, given that mages are on the upswing at the moment, this character in combination with like just a hefty amount of help. Like good mage teams might be a tide turner for mages, or at least bring them a little bit more back into kind of check at this. And the other thing here is that Moore does kind of seem a little bit of the magic version of Hero King Mont, which is pretty good because Hero King Mont is pretty good. And now we have this young lady who is also pretty good. And so we have one against physical and one against magical, and that pretty much seems the right place. And probably in about 6 months or so, we'll see one that does both. But for now, that is what it is, and it's pretty good. All right, I've said pretty good way too many times to be comfortable, so let's jump on down to the ability here. Progress Spike makes the user more likely to be targeted by the enemy, able to survive once when receiving lethal damage, reduces the physical damage with a spike effect that can activate 4 times, and reflects some of the damage back to the attacker, recovers AP, grants an effect to remove haste from the target when the target is hit by an attack for 4 turns, and grants a ceiling effect to remove all buffs from the target when an attack hits for 3 turns. Now, key things to note on this ability, it's for her only. So this is a unit that absolutely has to be in the front of the battle to get all of these effects in. And there's probably a pretty good chance if she's an AoE attacker, she can, remove haste pretty likely before your other attackers get in, giving your guys a nice little bonus and benefit. Then followed by granting like the ceiling effect of removal of all buffs, protects all of the units behind that have essentially been doing all of their buffs, which is also pretty good. It's like interesting that we have actually kind of a double spike here listed. One is on the limit burst and one is on her support skill. But she has everything that a tank essentially is looking to do. She has damage reduction that we've already seen, and no doubt there is more in her kit. I'd be very surprised if it wasn't just built into her supports. And who knows what exactly her counter is. Maybe she has physical reflex just to really kind of protect her against physical attacks as well. Who knows? That's probably a little bit much, but I'm, spitballing here. And just the spike effect being on 2 different abilities, we have Immortal Spirit, just surviving that fatal damage 1 time is pretty nice. Compare that, if you combine that with another effect that removes follow-up attacks, that would also be pretty good. So this Wind Elemental character is looking pretty juicy for a ton of reasons. Like, I think that Wind is going to be quite happy. I think that Spear also has been kind of getting some nice crossover between different jobs. That'll probably be really good. And I'm curious how this changes the actual formula of something. Matter of fact, like, as a X-Death Shrekken user right now, this is kind of, like, interesting for me. Because Moore doesn't really have a ton of value commander-wise, which means that she's probably going to be a damn good character in the actual game. And then you think, pairing off her with certain characters out there. Also, like, katana-based, like maybe O or whatnot. Even though the elements don't match, the vision card support might kind of be there. And, like, O is a character that has a really hard time killing off other characters, but has a fantastic time kind of just enduring a series of attacks. So you put those 2 characters together and make them work quite nicely. Just a defensive team that's really hard to get through. Maybe that's what we are looking at here for the big picture. But either way, Moore, I think, will be an exciting character for the game. It'll be really interesting to see how she actually shapes out when everything is, finalized and put in the game. Because, as always, while it is essentially advertised here, things can change right up until. But of course, we'll see the upgrades. As you would expect with Moore, she will be coming with a new piece of equipment, along with the new month's worth of logins. That new spear, also pretty interesting, because I'm hoping that it will be like some of the more recent pieces of equipment where it's like element specific. In which case, another wind-based spear might be kind of juicy for some other wind-based spear characters that I could think of. Either way, it is nice. if the weapon is nice. And then Guild Battle will be featuring a new map that essentially focuses into Dark-faced characters of the most recent variety for JP. So, there it is, all in a nutshell, everything. So I have to say, I'm pretty excited to see what Moore ends up being, because I like her design. I think that it's a pretty cool role that they've given her, and I'm kind of hoping that this will be a pretty powerfully strong character. Tanks don't come along that often, so they can generally be pretty good long-term valuable units. I mean, we've seen most recently with like healers, where like we had Luciel and Summer Resnick, and both of those two healers stayed basically the top of almost every meta spreadsheet I've seen for a considerably long time, because we just don't see healers that often. And that is likely probably to continue with these tanks. Damage healers do come around fairly frequently, but I think that this one should probably be a pretty good safe investment. Either way, thank you so much for watching. Take care and see you later.